Hello everyone, you're watching Let's Talk About Prepping. I'm Tyler, your host, and in this video, I want to talk about the first growing season after a major collapse in the Western world. So, a lot of people who talk about your plans after a major collapse break it into a paradigm of bugging in or bugging out. And this is basically your initial plans afterwards, whether you're going to stay where you are or go somewhere else. And while this is, yes, a good approach at a basic level to anyone starting prepping, I do want to talk about long-term goals that need to begin immediately after a collapse. It's not good enough to just be reactionary. While it's necessary to make the right choices to avoid maybe initial chaos or whatever happens immediately after a societal collapse, it's also necessary to begin immediately putting yourself in the mindset of somebody who lives in a postmodern agriculture world. And part of that has to do with looking at what it was like before a modern agriculture world. People needed to have food stores that would last at least a year, at least through the completion of the next growing season, and ideally through 2 growing seasons, just in case that next one failed. And not having this often led to death or to major setbacks when you were basically forced to rely on the help of others. Most preppers look at having up to a season of food if they're being very foresightful. But I think that needs to enter the discussion that you need to either have or know where you're going to get in a concrete way 2 seasons worth of food. Because if you spend most of the first season bugging in and most of the rest of it and part of the next season securing agricultural land and preparing it for agriculture, then that's most of 2 seasons, especially if that crop is not enough, that you're going to need to go with food that you're just not going to be able to gather. If you're talking about 5 or 6 people, food every single day all year long, that's not food that you can just forage. Unless you're very, very, very lucky. So I'd like to start the discussion, or at least continue the discussion of what are you going to do to ensure that you have food for up to 2 years after the collapse? Because it's not enough to just get by for a while and assume that you're going to find some large stash of food. Or are you planning on integrating into a group that already has this? Because then you're going to need some reason that you're valuable enough for them to share their agriculture process with you. Anyways, love to hear your thoughts. Hope you're all doing well. Everybody stay safe out there.